Hey y'all, this is Becky back here with A Good Enough Girl, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. It is the day after daylight savings time in the US, and I don't know about y'all, but this is a really hard time for all of us. I know there's a lot of injuries and car accidents and heart attacks and things like that happen the Monday afterwards when we all have to lose an hour of sleep, go back to work. And so I'm just putting it out there that if you're in favor of getting rid of daylight savings time so that we never have to change again, comment below because I'm done with it. But I do it because I have to. And thankfully today I didn't work. And so I only had to get up with my youngest to help him get ready for school this morning. So I actually got an extra hour of sleep. So it all worked out in a balance for me. But for you, those of you out here who are struggling today, I hear you. And I'm sorry. So everything in my world is pretty much the same old, minus the fact that I am now 54 years old. So I had a birthday on Friday, and birthdays at this age are great. I'm glad I have them because every day up above ground, they tell me, is better than a day below ground. So I'm super happy to get to enjoy my birthdays. And I did have a lot of people that worked to make it very, very special. So many people had posted and said, sent me messages telling me happy birthday. My friend Julie invited me over for lunch. And so she and I had some lunch together, which was great to catch up and hang out. And then my family brought me Mediterranean food from a place called Mediterranean Kitchen here in Kirkland. And so that was delicious. And it was just a really chill weekend. We went out to sushi with some friends, and I spent a lot of time knitting on one of my new sweaters that I'm working on. And I'll show you that as we get farther into things. Let's see. So for my birthday, my big act for the birthday this year is I decluttered, wait for it, all my thong underwear. It's all gone. I decided life is too short to wear uncomfortable underwear. So if you're with me, feel free to recycle yours as well. So we use a service called Ridwell here, and they will actually take your fabric and recycle it. So whether it's good clothes, bad clothes, they'll take care of getting it to somewhere that can either recycle it or reuse it. So I was happy to do that. That was kind of my statement. I'm old enough to say I don't want to wear uncomfortable stuff anymore. So those are gone. And I also was able to get rid of some books that I've already read. I got rid of a steel water bottle because it was making the drawer hard to open. And so I decided it's in the drawer. I haven't used it in the drawer. So I had to make it go away. So that went away. So it was a good week. I'm trying to kind of focus on what would I keep if I was going to move? Because a lot of us, it takes a move to actually get rid of stuff. And I like my house. I like where I live. I like my community. So I don't want to move if I don't have to. And so I'm trying to just kind of focus on what would I keep if I decided to move. So a lot of stuff is kind of going through that kind of a filter for me right now. Out there, I know that many of you are like me, and when you get into, it's kind of gray and dreary outside, and it's perfect knitting weather, it's perfect reading weather, and it's also perfect have a cup of coffee in the afternoon weather. So I feel like I'm kind of betraying the knitting community because I drink coffee. I love coffee. Coffee makes me happy. Coffee is one of my love languages. If you ever want to give me a gift, anything that has to do with coffee is an amazing gift. So like I'm drinking out of an ember mug so my coffee will stay warm, which I got from my sister for Christmas this year. Shout out to Amy. And so this mug I've used every single day, and it brings me amazing amounts of joy. I'm drinking Nespresso coffee, which my sister actually got me that last year. She got me the Nespresso coffee maker. So I'm drinking that. And my husband got me an espresso. I forget what it's called, but it's basically a frother for milk. And so it puts a delicious foam on top of my coffee in the mornings. And I sprinkle that with a little cinnamon, and I'm dreaming. So that's a way for me to have a really, really great beginning of the day. So let's see, what else did we do last week? Scary moments in my family growing up. My 16-year-old son is now driving all by himself. He took grandma's car and he drove down to Michael's, bought himself some stuff, and is enjoying the fact that now he can go places and he doesn't have to really beg someone to go with him. because I don't like going to thrift stores. He loves it. And so now he can do that all by himself. And in a few months, he'll be able to take friends with him to do it as well. So this is fantastic news for me. And I'm a little sad and a little excited for him. And before I move forward, I do want to talk about one of my FOs. And so an FO stands for finished objects. I have very few of those in my life. So as you get to know me, you'll realize that there's a lot of things that have been in process and not as many things that are finished. So a finished object is an amazing undertaking for me. So I'm going to show you what I finished. So it's actually, I made it from, the first sweater I ever made was for my husband instead of for me. So it's a hoodie. Look at my hair makes it really nice and peaked right there. And he wanted the red I-cord for the hood. And this is the Hot Toddy hoodie. Let's see if I can show you it a little bit. So it's the Hot Toddy hoodie. It is his, and it's got these really cool seams on the sides. So those go down the front, down the sides. It also goes, there's one down the back. Hopefully you can see that. It's designed by Knititude, and she's a Canadian designer. And this was she seemed to make things that were very beginner friendly. And so I decided this would be the first sweater that I wanted to make from her collection and the first sweater that I made. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed with my own self. I was able to do all of the raglan increases. I was able to pick up the neckline and add a hood to it, which was cool. I seamed this together basically with a whip stitch around so we could put our really cool contrasting I-cord pull on there. And it's cozy. I made it with Lion Brand Chainette yarn. So it's a combination of wool, yak, and polyamide, which I think is kind of a nylon type fiber. It's pretty soft. It does have a little bit of pokiness to it from the animal fibers. And so I think my husband said if he wears it for long periods of time, he's going to have to put on like a long sleeve t-shirt under it. But it definitely got way softer after I blocked it. So I was very happy with this. And now I'm moving on to making a sweater for me. So last time I talked about making, I showed you the Porch pumpkin yarn color from Odang DK from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. And so that was a gift from my parents for Christmas. And my daughter also had given me some Odang Farmer's Daughter Fibers in a really delicious blue color, which was called, it's Copacetic, I think is what it was called. And so I'm digging in to try and find it. So let's see. So basically it's Copacetic in the DK. So it's got this, I mean, just soft as air to knit with, light and fluffy. Hoping it's not going to be too warm because I tend to get warm, but that's what I'm working with. And so this was the original. So now I'm going to be on the hunt for another sweater pattern to make with this, since I have a Brume already on my needles and I will need something else. So I know that there's a Nebula out there that Andrea Mowry designed. So this could be a possible Nebula sweater, or I may just decide that I need another Brume in my life, and that's possible too. So I started this Brume sweater. I started this the 4th or the 5th of March, so about 5 days ago, and got the collar all done. I'm very excited about this. You can kind of see the stitches in there, just how beautiful they are. And it's got a little bit of variation in just the one skein that I've used so far. So you can actually see the columns of knit stitches are really easy to count, which was great because as I'm knitting, I folded at the collar, and the next step is to create short rows in the back so I can have a little bit of upside on my neck, a little extra fabric up there. So that's going to be, I think, a fairly simple process. So it was easy to count to make sure I had the right number of stitches after I'd cast on and the right number of stitches after I stitched everything together. So basically the collar is a giant tube now. It's a stitched together tube. So you can see that. I did start doing the short rows yesterday, and for some reason I'm off by about 4 stitches in one direction. So I'm gonna have to do some math today, and that'll be later, Becky's problem, because I don't feel like it. So, but that's my Brume sweater. I'm very excited to actually have a needle on, and to have done this much in 5 days is miraculous. So I'm doing the March to May knit along for the KAL for Andrea Mowry. And basically you can do any sweater or you can do any of her scarf patterns. And so I figured I had started on, I had started my big cozy cardi, which I showed last time. And so that's basically just a three knits purl kind of pattern. So super easy, but so tedious. So I'm not sure if I mentioned here, but I had knit trying to see how long it would take me to do rows on that sweater. I need to have 30 inches of fabric, and I currently have 8. So on the first, which was the beginning of the knit along, I sat down and timed myself for 3 hours to see how many things I could do. It took me 3 hours to do 10 rows. 10 rows, 3 hours. And then I did the math and I figured out, well, how many rows do I actually need? 270 rows. And it took me 3 hours to do 10. So if you're doing math along with me, that's 30. That's like 3 hours times 27, which is a lot. It's up in the 80s, 90s, 80s. So that's a lot of hours to put into a sweater, and the knit along ends for it to be eligible for prizes May 31st. So I essentially would have 3 months to do this many rows, the 270 rows at 3 hours for 10 rows, do the math on your own. And then I would have to pick up the whole collar and then have to knit some of that really nice Odang DK, or but not the DK, but the Odang regular size yarn, all around the collar for rows and rows and rows and rows and rows. So I think it's going to be beautiful and amazing some year. This is not the year. So after that 3 hours, I decided probably not the best choice for me. I'd actually like to be able to complete something. And so I did some swatching for the Brume and decided that that was going to be the right thing for me. And so when I do swatching for in the round projects, because the sweater is knit into the round, I do kind of a faux in the round. So you'll see the back right here. So this is my swatch with the recommended needle size. You can see the light through there. Light and airy, but still beautiful, great stitch definition, soft. So basically what I do is I'll knit across one way, and then I will just take the yarn around the back. So you see all these drops of yarn right here. Those go around the back. And so it essentially gives you kind of what your in the round would look like when you knit. So this was with the US 7 needle. And then I also tried it on a US 6 needle. And I decided that I'm totally off gauge on both of them. So we're gonna go, and hopefully this works out. But as you know, this is my second sweater. I'm no expert. So like, yeah, you can see the fabric is so much denser with the number 6 needle. And so I've decided to go with the US 7 as recommended in the pattern. Although I'm off by 2 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. So I think that's gonna cause my fabric to shrink a little bit, to be a little bit smaller. And since you need your sweaters to actually fit when you wear them, I'm going to knit up a size and hope that as like a size bigger than I would have normally, and hope that's enough that as it shrinks down that it will still be nice and wearable. The beauty of it is it's a top-down sweater, so I've already tried on the neckline, so I know what that looks like, and then I just have to start knitting the body down, and I can try it on as I go. So hopefully, I mean, gosh, the neck I just think is gorgeous. I love it. So soft. Yeah, so I'm hoping I can get this one done by the end of May. The only thing that gets in my way, obviously, is work and family, which that gets in the way of all the hobbies for most people. And I'm also wanting to knit something for summer because summer's coming. And so I think last time I had showed a couple of patterns of things that I wanted to do. And it was I had the Elton sweater by Hoodie Locatelli, and I had the what was that called? The sideline tee. So the sideline tee. So those were two of the things that I wanted to use. And so I got yarn for those. And so now I'm really excited to hopefully see which one I want to make first. So I'll show you the yarns that I got as I dig down deep. So I went with Knitting for Olive because I've never used it before and I wanted to try out this. I've heard a lot about Knitting for Olive. It's a Danish company, so I had to have it shipped from Denmark. So it only took about 10 days or something like that to get it to me, which is not too bad. And something that when I got their yarn, I was actually really impressed to see how ethically sourced it is and how much they care for the environment and the people who do the yarn for them. So it comes with this really cute picture that has all these beautiful sheepies on there. I love sheepies. I'd have sheep, except for you have to take care of them. That's a lot of work, and I don't go in for extra work. And then it's really cool because it talks about how they use 100% natural fibers. They follow strict ethic codes about welfare and social responsibility. So for their animals, for the people that are working for them. And so I was really delighted to see that when I opened it up. So the first sweater that I was considering was the Elton Pullover. And so that is basically it's kind of a striped sweater, but the stripe is really just a different kind of fiber. Oh, of course, it's gonna flip all over the place. So basically that's it. So if you look at that, you see it looks like it has stripes, but the stripes are really just alternating fabric. And so if you look at that, these were the colors that I got for it. And so it's kind of hard to see the colors right now. This is called Elephant Blue. And so it's really a nice soft blue shade. Really small yarn. As I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh gosh, that's gonna take me forever to knit. And then this is the fuzzy mohair style, silk mohair that I was gonna use with it. And I mean, the width of this yarn is unbelievable. I mean, look at that. That is some seriously small yarn. So who knows how long the Elton Pullover could take me to finish. It looks like a 10-year project because of the size of the yarn. And that one's Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair, and it is in Dusty Petroleum Blue. I pretty much love any color that's called dusty. And so this one is their Cotton Merino. So you can see that too. There you go. So Cotton Merino. So that's for the Elton Pullover. But then I also wanted to do the sideline tee, which is kind of it's a cotton tee. It looks great for summer. And hold on, I'm trying to get it pulled up here so we can actually look at it together. And if it won't work, it won't work. And it'll just be the way that it is. So I got for the sideline tee this gorgeous clover green. I mean, look at that. It's so pretty. It's the same cotton merino because I wanted to try a cotton that would be easy for knitting and that also blended with some wool. So it could have some really nice, a lightweight feel for a summer sweater. Let's see. And so that's Knitting for Olive. I was going to do that with the sideline tee. So I'm going to grab a picture of that because that one looks like it's a little easier, a little smaller, a little faster. And I'm all about fast because, you know, I'm already knit a sweater. So I was going to do this sweater in this color. So it's a beautiful green with all those little, basically you get to rip your knitting and that's really fun. So anytime you can create something beautiful and then break it apart, it's a good time for most people. It's gonna terrify me, but that's okay. So what do you think? Should I go with the green for the sideline tee with the holes and the stripes and the short sleeves? Or should I go with the blue with the longer sleeve Elton Pullover, but it has some sheer paneling with this beautiful mohair in between? I mean, look at that mohair. Ooh, Looks a little bit like Albert Einstein. Got his little hair freaking out all over the place. But it's beautiful. So what do you think? Elton pullover or sideline tee? Share your opinions down below. I'd love to see it. So that's my whip right now is my Brume sweater. And then I have those 2 summer weight tees that I'm trying to decide between. And I'm wondering, am I going to be able to do the blue sweater and the summer sweater in the next 3 months and still get both of them done, or even just one of them by the end of May? What do you think? I'm sure most people are like, oh, that's no problem. It's super easy to do that. But we all know me. I don't knit fast, and my hands often give out before I do. So if the hands give out, sometimes the hands just give out and we're done. Can't do much else about that. All right. I did want to talk about a little community event that I went to. So I have a friend, Lori, and she's one of the people that I've known for a long time knitting in this area. She moved here quite a while ago, and I met her at one of my knitting groups. And so she invited me to go to a knit night at Needles and Hooks, which is the knitting shop in Lake Forest Park, Washington. And so they have a Thursday night knit night, and I went. Everybody was really, really kind. It was a good group. It was a big group. There was people spinning, there was people knitting, there was people crocheting. So all of the fiber crafts were represented. So it was kind of nice because that way I know if I bring somebody who's not a knitter with me, they would not feel out of place at all. So that place was great. They were really welcoming. They have a nice selection of beautiful yarns. So if you're in the area, check out Needles and Hooks. It's in Lake Forest Park, Washington. So I think you'd enjoy that. And, there was people drop spindling, there was people e-spinning, and there was people knitting and just talking. Somebody else came to learn how to knit. So they had, somebody was teaching someone else how to knit in a different space. So that was super, super cool. On the spinning topic of the world, so I'd like to say I'm a spinner, but I'm a novice spinner. I started with a drop spindle. I moved on to my wheel, which I mentioned last week. And so I was talking about how I took a class to learn how to spin dog fur into yarn. And so I actually wanted to show you what I've been doing with my my lovely Pomsky's fur. So let's see. So we have, trying to find all of my goodies for her. So basically, this is Luna in the fur. So she's got really beautiful fur. I mean, it comes out to a really nice silvery gray. It's got a little bit of white to it and some really, really nice colors. So I'm gonna get as much of that as I can. And just a second, I'm gonna go find all of her. I had a bunch of show and tell for her stuff too. I'll be right back. No, I won't. It's right here. Aha! How quickly I forget. I mean, seriously. My brain shuts down real fast and forgets all the things that literally happened 20 minutes ago. So this is the yarn. And so I blended some of it with just a basic wool. And then, I mean, you can see all the guard hairs on there. So the guard hairs are the kind of the harder hairs on a dog that are a little bit rougher and not as soft. So I will be trying to get some of those out as I go. But here's what that comes from. So basically, after I carded it together with some wool, I just got some hand carders where you basically work back and forth, and maybe sometime I'll show you how to do that. And then I turn them into little Luna nests. So this is basically the fur that I made, or the wool and the fur combined that I made out of Luna. I'm moving my coffee because I don't want to drink Luna. She's cute, but she's not delicious. So you can see I just basically kind of tied it into a little ball, and then you just spin straight from here. And you can just see, you can see some of her texture in there, some of the wool. And so just the different colors that show up from my dog. And I'm starting to realize I wear a lot of gray because this is, I think, my 4th video. And I've been wearing gray of some sort in every single one. And then this one, of course, I just finished, so I had to wear it. So that's another gray thing. Maybe maybe I'll finish all these sweaters and I'll get to wear some color someday. So those are basically the little fiber nests that I created to spin Luna. And this is hers. So this is basically Luna in a bag. So I can brush her fur. And as I brush her, whatever I take off, I put into my bag. And then, so it's never going to be, it's going to take a long time, but I mean, she has some really long staple length in her fur. And so it's going to be really cool once I finish something with it. So that's one of my spinning projects. I don't spin a ton. I spin very, very sporadically. And so once I get onto a project, I tend to be I have ADHD. And so my brain likes to either hyper focus or be all over the place. And so when I'm working on a project, I tend to hyper focus on it. I just want to get something done because it feels really, it's like that dopamine boost when you complete something and I feel like I'm successful. I mean, you should have seen me yesterday when I finished that sweater for Eric. I got all the seams woven in and all the ends done, and I put it together, and I was tickled with my own self. So I'm really, really glad that I'm able to finish something, and now I'm ready to move on and make something else that's a big size, because I've done some mittens, I've done a few pairs of socks. And so to be able to wear things that I can actually physically wear on a regular basis is pretty cool for me. So I wanted to share that. I'm hoping I can do some more spinning because I really do enjoy the rhythm of that too. That's a great feeling. Okay. Last time I told you about the missing Christmas gift from my parents, which was actually never missing. It was ferreted away in my bedroom. And so I opened that last week, and that was the Porch pumpkins, and beautiful, beautiful, just delightful yarn. I'm very excited to work with that. And I realized there's another box that's been hiding out. As I mentioned, I have a lot of stuff, so things hide in my house really, really well, even when they're hiding in plain sight. So I have a box of yarn that I bought after Black Friday. So me and my dangerous Black Friday shopping. And I think it was a surprise, kind of like a surprise yarn that I didn't know what I was going to get. So I realized I should probably open that so I know what I have. Because like I said, I want to be intentional about the things that I buy. I don't want to just be buying stuff to buy stuff. And that doesn't feel good to me. And so I'm going to open it with you right now. So we're going to see what's in the Farmer's Daughter Fibers box from Black Friday. Okay, so one of a kinds and worsted. So these are one of a kind and worsted bundles. And I think I was able to see pictures of it when I ordered it. So I'm kind of like, this is just ridiculous that I still have this. Oh, and haven't opened it yet. But here it is. Oh, baby. It's called Juicy DK. And can you see the colors on that? Oh, that is juicy. It's like a peach. Oh my gosh. So I have 4 skeins of Juicy DK. It's 100% merino wool. The colorway is one of a kind. The OOAK, which is one of a kind. I used to think it meant oak. So I was like, oh, there's so many colors that are named oak. OOAK. But they all look so different. I don't understand how that's possible. And then someone said, no, that means one of a kind, which means you can't get it again. So if you look at that, scrumptious. You can see the beautiful twist on there, the colors. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I have this. Now I gotta find something else to make with this beautiful merino. Oh, that's yummy. It's got some really nice magenta speckles on there. So you can see those speckles, you can see the yellow, there's some peach and a little bit of, there's a little bit of like cocoa brown in there, really light brown. Oh, that'll be fun. And it's really soft and super squishy. I mean, like as you look at it, you can watch it squish and bounce. Oh, so good. So that's one. It looks like I have 3. So that's one. Next one, also one of a kind collection, but this one is kind of, ooh, it's mixed. Oh, look at those beautiful colors. Okay, so this is also a one-of-a-kind colorway, so oak colored again. And this one, so what is this? It's superwash American wool, which means it can be washed in the washer. And when you superwash a yarn, it basically takes off kind of the sticky fibers on the exterior of the wool. So it's a little more slippery, so it won't felt to itself. So when you wash something in the machine, it's not gonna like shrink itself down or squish and become attached to other fibers. So this is a really pretty, it's kind of like, I don't know if you can see the colors of it. It is a dark tealy charcoal, hard to describe. It's got a little bit of like, you can see kind of the striping through it. And it's got a little charcoal vibe with a little bit of teal, a little bit of kind of a dark gray. Yeah, that's really pretty. And again, it has that beautiful boing, squish and bounce. And so this was bundled with this beautiful color. So it's the same type of yarn. They're both 100% superwash, but they're different colorways. And so they would probably be really nice with a color work, like a color work yoke on a sweater. And I have 3 of this one. And this one's more of a, it's got some pink in the striping, and it's also got some kind of coral or peachy beige. So that's gonna be really cool with that. So those two contrast really, really well. Very excited about that. But wait, there's more. I think this is the last one. Oh, wow, this is beautiful. Okay, another one of a kind. It's Pishkin DK, which I have never knit with Pishkin before, but I have 4 skeins of Pishkin DK, which is 100% Montana and Wyoming Rambouillet, which was originally a French sheep's yarn. So it's this really nice rust color. It's warm. Let's see. So you can see it up close. See all the twist in there. So it's a DK, so it's a little bit heavier than like a sock yarn. 4 skeins of this. Gosh, that's beautiful. Nice little twist in there. But it's not really like super twisted. So it's a loosely twisted yarn. I don't know how that's gonna knit up, but it looks great. It feels good. And so it's really, I mean, it's really springy, which I think is a characteristic of a great yarn. So I'm gonna clean that mess up later, but I'm super excited about these. And I'm very glad, like I think I actually saw them on the website, but you can't tell the colors very easily until you actually get them in person. And this one I'm really excited about because it's got just, it looks like striations of pink and peach. There it is. So like, I don't know if you can see the color shifting, like up, especially up on top here, you can see kind of the 2 tones in the stripes, the barber pulling. That's beautiful. So I'm excited. And I love beautiful things. And I'm really excited to make a wardrobe for myself that I can call me made. Like this is made by me and I made it. I love it. And hopefully that can kind of slow down my clothing purchases. I don't buy fast fashion anymore. So I avoid Old Navy in places where the stuff costs not very much money and it was made really, really fast and poorly and who knows what kind of working conditions. So when I get these things, I know where the fiber comes from. I know who knit the product because it was me. I know the conditions of the artist, which is me, because I'm knitting it on my couch with a fire in the background. And I think that's a pretty civilized way to make products, especially clothes. So I like that. So I'm trying to, as much as I can, get away from fast fashion and things that will be put into a yard sale or something in the very near future. So that's kind of one of the things that I think about as I'm purchasing and acquiring things and trying to get rid of things. So that's kind of everything that's happening in my knitting world right now. it's been very exciting. I'm eager to get back to my Brume sweater. So like the fact that I'm still sitting here talking is taking me away from my knitting because I have to do math and I can't do math and talk at the same time. So I'm going to go do some math on my sweater to figure out how I need to shift the back of my sweater because something's off. So I'm going to get that fixed. And before I do that though, I just wanted to share a couple of things. So I did talk about the fact that I do my own nails. And so today I was doing my nails, and this is Peppy Gel's So Sexy is the dip color. I did a gel top coat, and this has happened before. So gel top coat, when I use the regular one that you have to wipe off, the diamond top coat, it works out beautifully. It looks very shiny. It's spectacular. This one, so I'm going to do some chrome accents on them later. So that'll be kind of like my fun artsy time with myself as I'm doing my nails. I'm going to put some chrome flowers on here. And so I put the gel no wipe top coat on there, but every time I use it, it looks like garbage. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but it is so like not smooth. It's not shiny. I mean, look at that divot right there. Ugh. So if you use a no wipe top coat, can you tell me your secrets? Because it looks just fine until I touch anything with it. And then it looks all dull and grudgy. Ugh, it's just ew. Ew, ew, ew. Yeah, I mean, like that one right there too is a hot mess. Oh well, they're gonna get fixed because I'm gonna buff them down anyway to put the gel on top. So that's gonna be great. But I love this color, like a neon-y pink. Ugh, so good. And since it's almost springtime here, and I think the sun's gonna come out eventually, so I want to be ready for it. It's coming, and I'm here for it. So if I know a lot of people who are knitters are also avid readers, and I wanted to ask you, because when I knit, my vibe when I knit is basically I do a couple of things. I will normally put on a knitting podcast on YouTube so I can feel like I'm knitting with, like I have my own little knitting group on my couch. So I have somebody knitting with me. They don't know they are, but they are. And I have, if I'm lucky, a fire in the fireplace because that makes me so, so happy. I do open the windows so it doesn't get too hot, but yeah, I'm that girl. And then I sometimes will also put on an audiobook. So I've started listening to audiobooks because I can't knit and read at the same time. My brain just can't process all that. I know there's some people that can, and I'm super impressed by that. But so I do a lot of audiobooks for when I'm knitting. And so I've read a couple recently. I don't know if you all have read Freida McFadden's books. She's really well known for The Housemaid. And there's a whole series. There's 3 Housemaid books. And so I read that. And then my friend and I, Kim and I, went on a road trip over the summer last summer. And we listened to 3 of her books on the road. And oh my gosh, it makes the drive so fast because those things are riveting. They twist, they turn, you don't know what's happening. And even after the book is done and the epilogue hits, something new comes up and you're like, holy cow, wouldn't have ever expected that. So they're kind of thriller murder mysteries, and they're compelling. So if you haven't read Freida McFadden yet, get on it. I read all of her books. I think I've read like 15 of her books so far, and they're just devourable, but they're not predictable. So if you like a book that you think you know what's going to happen, but it doesn't, and even after all, I've read a bunch of books, they still surprise me. There's no formula. So that's a great book. I did happen to read one book of hers that I was just, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't even believe I'm reading this. Well, it turns out it was a satire. It wasn't an actual novel. It was a novella. It was a satirical novella, and just crazy, goofy things were happening. And so it made sense. And after I was finished listening to it and then I was describing it to my husband, it started to become really, really funny to me of all the silly, ridiculous things that were happening. Mm. And then after they made sense. And so it took a little time for me to kind of get into that. I actually had to finish it to appreciate it. And that was called The Widow's Ex-Husband, I think. The Widow's Ex-Husband. And she writes books like The Teacher, The Boyfriend, and Ward D, that was a really good one as well. So if you're into kind of murder mystery books and you haven't read any Freida McFadden, get on it. She's really, really amazing. That's been one of my favorites. And so every once in a while I'll sprinkle something else in. But I'm kind of just binging her books right now. I did start reading a book called A Star is Bored, and I don't know where I got the recommendation from, but I'm bored. I'm never bored by a book. I'm a finisher kind of person, so I will finish a project even if I think I don't like it. Same thing with books. I typically finish everything that I start reading, or movies that I start watching, unless I fall asleep, which ask my family about that. It happens all the time. But for books, so A Star is Bored, I was listening to that, and I think it was written by one of Carrie Fisher's assistants, and it's supposedly not based on anybody in particular, but there's very close tie-ins to Carrie Fisher's life. The character has a famous mom. She has manic depressive disorder. And so it could be, it very well could have been real experiences that happened for Carrie Fisher. And I love Carrie Fisher, and I've read her books, and I find her books very compelling and interesting. But this one it's kind of boring me. And so I think I'll get around to it, but I had to renew the audiobook because I get all my audiobooks from the library. I don't pay for books anymore. I downloaded that from the library. I renewed it, so I have it. I think I'm 30% of the way into it, and it's going to be a slog, but I'm going to do it because I'm clearly a masochist for things that are hard, or uncomfortable or difficult. Take my Big Cozy Cardi by Andrea Mowry, for example. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to love it, but I'm going to hate the process. So A Star is Bored makes me bored. And I just finished a book called The Girls by Emma Cline. And I have no idea where I get all these recommendations, but I typically will get them from listening to other podcasts, or I'll listen to my friend and I share a lot of book titles together. And so The Girls was actually it's by Emma Cline, Cline, the character development was okay. I liked the story. It was basically about a cult in the 60s and then kind of the aftermath of modern times for the young person who was involved in it. And so it was really kind of an interesting look into a life that we don't know much about normally. And looking at the family she comes from, and so how that was all made so possible by the kind of the neglect, the lack of concern that her parents had for her. And so it's just like, it's a family with money, and typically a lot of times when people have money, they buy care for their people. They don't necessarily provide care for their people, and that's a total generalization. And I know that's not the case for everybody with lots of money, but it was definitely a family that had evolved having a lot of money. And in this one, grandma was an actress. So there's like a lot of grandma actresses in these books, apparently. And so I thought it was really interesting to kind of see what led to her involvement with the girls. And so it's probably not one that would like rivet me to it, but it was enjoyable listening to it. It was also, it was satisfying. So I think that was probably the best way to say it. It was a satisfying book. So if you're interested in stuff like that, I'll keep reading along and sharing my stories. But if you haven't read Freida McFadden, you can tell I'm a fangirl. So if you're out there, Freida, awesome job. She's also a doctor. And so a lot of her books have some really interesting medical details. And I love to learn things. And so the fact that I can learn some cool medical stuff as I'm reading her books is really, really satisfying to me as well. So I hope you are having a fantastic week. I hope you are doing something wonderful for yourself. Make sure you take care of yourselves in this crazy and wild world. And if you have some friends up in Canada, buy some of their stuff. If you got friends in Mexico, buy some of their stuff. Support the world around. So I'm in the US and trying to stay positive and trying to focus on the good in the world and the good in my people. So thank you for being good, and I will constantly continue to be good enough. I'll see you soon.